Good afternoon and good evening, folks. It's Cool Groove here with a reaction piece. And if you're seeing my screen right now, you can see that's Bill Maher with a stogie, or whatever you want to call it nowadays. You love him, you hate him. I've never seen anyone in between. When I was younger, I liked him. Nowadays, I can go without them. But I'm gonna do a reaction to it's more of a response than a reaction to Bill Maher. As you can read here below, he's interviewing Rob Schneider, and and they were talking. Sorry about that. They were talking about how that they're liberals, but because they don't agree with the alt left of their group, like Bill with Rob Schneider, he's starting to be categorized as conservative, and when he says I'm not a conservative, and that's fine. I don't care about that, but this is an interview. They're about 22 minutes. They're smoking and drinking, and let's play a little bit of this.
Oh, okay. I hate your fucking guts, but you know what?
Sorry
I'm
about
gonna
that.
Paste on a smile, and I'm gonna walk over to the White House. I'm gonna invite you to the White House, even though I lost, and I'm giving up this great palace because that was.
Well, that's what
that is what.
Okay, so right there, he's talking to Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider never once in that first 23 minutes of this interview, never once brought up Trump. All Rob Schneider did, if you go back to this Rob Schneider Club Random, is talk about how the woke culture has basically stunted Rob Schneider's career because his spick was he would imitate other people. Come to find out, if he imitates Asian person, he's not culturally appropriating. His mother's Filipino, so he's half Asian. And just on a sidebar, cultural appropriation, saying one person can't do the other, that's a form of racism. Somehow our left has decided to use racism with racism. And all it does is begets more racism. It's the old saying with violence begets violence. Racism begets racism. And then not to mention you're punishing a group of people who had nothing to do with it. I cannot change my skin color, just like Barack Obama can't either. Okay? But one of these days I'll have the courage to actually explain to me what I really think's going on. Maybe I'll get into it tonight or whatever in this video. So, alright. Quit messing with my mouse. So, what you saw in this clip here. He says, I said, come over to Washington, and we're gonna. He's basically, we're gonna go storm the Capitol building because I didn't like the results. That didn't happen. When Trump was doing his speech on January 6th, he says, go home in peace. Yes, there was a group of people. Folks, I don't care what side of the aisle. I want you to sit back for a second and honestly tell me, has our government ever been 100% honest with us? No, they haven't. They've lied about Roswell. They lied about Nixon. They've lied about Watergate, which was basically Nixon. They've been lying to us about JFK. They've been lying to us about global warming. They've been lying to us about just about everything. For years they tell us there's no UFOs, and then next thing you know, they're spewing out footage of unidentified flying objects. And I'm not saying they're alien, but they're saying, oh, here's 35% of them we can't identify. And how many? And what about the Tuskegee? Where they went and claimed that they were going to help these African Americans with syphilis and other STDs, and they just basically watched them die. Or how about the times in Philadelphia where they used prisoners to test products? They lied about that. So, our history, our government, for all the stuff that it's done good for us, it also has the history of doing stuff bad and lying to us. And like I said, Rob Schneider hadn't mentioned Trump, but because of Bill Maher's Trump derangement syndrome, he went in and falsified what happened. The media cut the audio and the footage to where they could try to say that Trump never said to go home in peace. Okay? My personal opinion, yes, Trump supporters were there. But I also believe, just like every other time, that Democrats paid Antifa, BLM, to come in there. I don't know about BLM, but I'm pretty sure Antifa. But then we come to find out, I wasn't able to find it, to fact check myself. But, and I don't know when this interview is, because I want to say that I heard him say, Bill Maher, say this to somebody. I want to say it was him. Come to find out, the Democratic-led FBI staged that. About letting protesters in. There was one lady was killed, shot by they were unarmed, and they were shot by a cop. And from the footage, she never attacked the cop. Okay, one death. Is that tragic? Yes. Avoidable? Absolutely. But then you have... Oh, wait, this is the January... Okay. Oh, here's all these footage. This is Chaz. This is in Seattle. Yeah. Hundreds of thousands of dollars and damage, maybe even the millions damage here at Chaz in Seattle. People were raped, murdered. Oh, and they built a wall. You see that? They built a wall. And the left, so no wall, and yet the first thing Chaz did was build a wall and had armed guards. There was no guns on January 6th. Oh, you don't like this one? How about we go to this one? I thought I had it saved. I'll pull up. Where that was. In Portland, Oregon. We had this. This was Antifa. This was Black Lives Matters. These were just Democrat liberals who were mad over a criminal dying. They were mad that Trump won the election over Hillary. in this interview with Rob Schneider, he tried to claim that Hillary did a peaceful transfer. Okay, so when Trump was inaugurated, yes, she wasn't doing no rally, but a lot of her supporters were out rioting there in D.C. saying, impeach him. They were trying to impeach him before he was even inaugurated. Okay, folks, listen. The FBI, do your own research. I did this for myself. Go do your... All you got to do is go and click. The FBI has acknowledged the dossier was fake. The FBI acknowledged that, yes, Trump was telling the truth. They had wiretapped his house, his home, his buildings during the campaign. Oh, and that whole scandal about him talking to a diplomat right after he was one of his guys was, oh, they were collusion. You guys, if you knew your politics, Obama's guy did that. George W. Bush guys does that. They communicate with the other side when it transfers, so they have a relationship. Now, I have said this before, and I'll say this again. If you can prove without a shadow of doubt, now, not your feelings, not because he was mean, not because he was a bully. If you had a video of Donald Trump committing a crime of any sorts that is punishable by jail time, lock him up. But, and I say that Ron DeSantis, if he committed a crime, lock him up. Abbott, lock him up. Noem, lock her up. Cruz, lock him up. If they committed a crime, I don't care who they are. If they committed a crime, lock them up. But if a Democrat did a crime, lock them up. But we have evidence all the way back to the 60s that they've been able to get away with it. Ted Kennedy. No investigation of how come his car rolled over into a creek and drowned a woman. No ticket for DUI because that dude was an alcoholic. Nothing. Bill Clinton had an affair under military rule because he's a commander-in-chief. If you're an officer in the military and you are caught, you go to military court. If you're caught having an affair, you go to military court and you can be discharged. Because if your wife can't trust you, how is your men going to trust you? And we had a blue dress full of DNA. And you had a rhino, Newt Gingrich, saying, I don't care if you could prove that he killed her. They weren't going to impeach him. And they did everything they could to make sure that Bill Clinton didn't get impeached out of office. You have Swalwell. I don't know if he's married, but he had an affair with a Chinese spy. Evidence, proof, fact. He should be removed from office because he can't be trusted. Adam Schiff, he colluded with a foreign power trying to come up with evidence to get rid of Trump. Nancy Pelosi's husband is no punishment for his DUI wreck. But going back to this. My personal opinion, in my opinion, if there were Republicans involved, yes, because some they follow the crowd mentality. Yeah, there was probably some Trump supporters in there. But was there any damage done to the property? No, some things were taken. Yeah. All right, so they stole some stuff, and they should be punished. But here we have, if you go to this Timcast, go back to it here. This is a January 6th.
January 6th. The federal defense.
There we go. Man acquitted on all charges related to January 6th. Because it goes on to say...
The contractor is the first person to be found.
They let them in.
All charges filed against him in connection to the Capitol security breach. Yeah. Matthew Martin, a federal defense contractor, was acquitted on April 6 following a 2-day bench trial. Martin had been charged with entering and remaining in a restricted building, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building.
So, yeah, they enter in. And we all heard, I'm not even going to mention that one woman's name from New York, who she takes that, never let a crisis go to waste, and she's a complete idiot. So, again, how is...
And I'm Jenny Hansen. It all started in the afternoon with...
This was a group of services.
So this is Portland Federal Courthouse.
Plywood right outside those doors.
Well, that's not as bad as the other ones. But and you had rioters firebombing. You go to Chaz, they were invaded the city building and overran it. People died. What did the Democrats do? They bailed those out, that arrest, and demonized Trump more for trying to actually arrest the criminals. Okay? I was no big fan of Trump. I was a Ted Cruz guy. I'll be honest. I'll be upfront. But when you have influential people like Bill Maher, where Rob Schneider never mentioned Trump, and he went on a diatribe for like a few minutes about, it was a peaceful power. There was no evidence of voter fraud. Okay. And he said, in the courts. Okay. Again, when has the government ever told us the truth 100% of the time? They don't. Okay. Now, if you look at it investigatively, if you want to say I'm doing confirmation bias, grasping at straws, hey, unlike Democrats, I can admit when I'm wrong. Okay? So this is my opinion. Atlanta, Georgia, at where was this? Where was it? Fulton County, Atlanta. They coincidentally, along with a couple other voting areas, Detroit was one. I want to say Pittsburgh area, maybe. And that place was notorious for having voter fraud. All randomly shut down, saying because it was late. That's never happened before. And in my recollection, I have never, before 2020, never has a voter stopped voting, counting votes, before it was done. And Bill Maher goes, not a single judge here. Well, who appointed those judges? Obama. So they have some bias there. They said there was a leak in the building. And come to find out, there was no leak. And you had people here, you had people in Detroit, you had people in Philly, and I believe signing affidavits saying if they were lying. Correct me if I'm wrong. An affidavit is you sign it and say, I swear on my life and that this is truth. we had countless people saying that when they're counting votes, van loads were coming in. Now, people say, well, this was never reported, James. Okay. How often do you hear things reported if it doesn't fit the narrative of the media? Well, you can say, well, Fox News is reporting. Yeah. Who cares about Fox? But when you have news stories leaking out of Arizona, you have stories leaking out here in Michigan where I live, you had stories leaking out of Pennsylvania, you had stories leaking out of Georgia, that there were people being caught with voter fraud. But if you take each case individually, yeah, it is not, and it's just it's been going on over time. I can still remember during the 2008 election when Obama was elected. I still don't get the numbers, but I remember seeing it out of Indianapolis, Indiana, that of 100% of the votes, Obama got 108, 112%. Oh, and Mickey Mouse voted for him. Elvis voted for Obama in 2008. Okay? You see, the Democrats have this issue that if it doesn't fit them, if it isn't good for them, they'll ignore it or demonize it. Hillary, to this day, still claims that the 2016 election was stolen from her. To this day, people claim that Bush's brother gave him the election. My excuse at the time of that was Al Gore didn't get Arkansas and he didn't get Tennessee. And if you couldn't get the incumbent president's state in your own state, something's wrong. But, so, let me come back to the reality. If the government, without doctoring, without forging, without just because my emotions and my feelings at the time say he's bad and therefore he's guilty. No, if you give me concrete evidence, lock up Trump. But at the same time, I couldn't find it. I remember seeing a clip that, yes, you can say it was his dementia, but then you have to admit that Joe Biden had dementia, that he claimed during a speech that him and Obama had a complex voter fraud system set up. It's reported that he has an island next to Epstein. It's reported that his daughter's diary, Hunter's laptop, the FBI silenced the laptop. This is the same FBI that you want us to believe when they accuse Trump of Russia collusion or selling nuclear secrets to Russia now that he's not in office. It takes common sense. The government's lying to us. They've been telling us we have a choice for generations. We don't. We've had two parties ever since the beginning. Whenever a third party tries to come in, both sides work together and make sure they don't last. We don't have a choice. Our country's hurting with the Democrats. Maybe not so much with the Republicans, but in the end, all they want is power. In the end, all they want is control. Right now, the Democrats have it, and they're doing whatever they can to destroy this country for whatever reason. And then you got Republicans just sitting back letting them do it. You know, like look at David Crenshaw. He got elected down in Texas as he was going to fight, and he has become part of the problem. So, but make your own choice. But if you're going to say, but you have to be honest with yourself. If Trump did something wrong and Biden did something wrong, it doesn't matter what party letters right next to their name. They should both go in jail. And Trump has been out of office for 2 years. Yes, he's been threatening to run again. Personally, I hope he doesn't. But he's gone. I know you guys are hurting number-wise because you're no longer talking about Trump every day, and you're manufacturing stuff again. Let's just move on. We got to get rid of that tribe mentality. At the end of the day, we're both Americans, and we need to work together. You know, it's not going to get any better anytime soon at the rate we're going. And as soon as people can wake up and see it, this is just going to get worse. We're supposed to be America. We're supposed to be the greatest country on earth. But right now, and quite honestly, thanks to both sides of the aisle, we are a laughing stock. We are a laughing stock. And it's sad. But when you have and I'll close with this. There were reports coming out that were getting out just because the mainstream media doesn't report it, just because some judges who happened to be appointed by Obama said no, doesn't mean it was there. You had it was a mathematician, no skin in the game. A mathematician says it was physically impossible for Biden to get that big of a vote swing. Before those 4 stations closed, Trump was winning. Then all of a sudden, whenever the cameras were off, and we wake up in the morning, Biden won. It's suspicious. Oh, and Bill Maher, when Trump says, find me, he wasn't trying to say manufacture 11,000 votes. He was trying to say, are there any votes not been counted yet? The double standard in America needs to quit. If it's guilty for one, it's guilty for all. If it's okay for one, it should be okay for all. And just because I don't agree with you on something doesn't make me a xenophobe, racist, or whatever. Just means I disagree with you on this particular point. But if you read the Rules of Radicals, and if you read the Communist Manifesto, if you read every time a government was taken over by communism and socialism, what did they do? They come in and demonize a particular group. The Russians did it. The Chinese did it. Hitler did it. The Democrats are demonizing Republicans, especially those who happen to vote for Trump, who don't agree with them on anything. They're demonizing us.